Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Dr. Matthew Loop here, and I'm excited because I have my good friend and colleague, Dr. Jay Greenstein, with us today. He's going to be speaking at our Social Media Revenue Summit on March 29th. And, whenever I think of innovations in tech and healthcare and massive respect, Dr. Jay comes to mind because he's always got his finger on the pulse of what's new and what's going on. And even before like this whole AI revolution, when I met Jay, he was just always like in the trenches in this stuff and figuring out solutions. And so this just kind of happened to be the perfect situation where we were able to get together, and it just worked out that he could share his knowledge with our Social Media Revenue Summit attendees. And if you want to learn more about that event, just go to profit365.org/SMRS. It's going to be an amazing training, and we do have an experience the day before, a couple more where you can drive tanks, shoot machine guns in the desert if you want to do that stuff. But I promise you the training is going to be great today. So let me actually just formally introduce Dr. J, read just some of his bio, and then he can kind of take it away and give you some insights. At our event, he's going to be sharing high leverage frameworks for AI growth around hiring, team building, new patient acquisition, retention, revenue creation with AI-enabled remote therapeutic monitoring. Now, Jay has also been behind a lot of the research that's come out for chiropractic and created serious momentum. Maybe he can talk about that a little bit as well. He's the founder of and CEO of Kaizo Health. It's a multifaceted organization. Kaizo Health, Kaizo X, Kaizo Clinical Research Institute, and all of this good stuff. So, Jay, hey man, thanks for being with me today.
Yo, it's always great to see you, brother.
Likewise, likewise, and I'm happy you're presenting at our event. I know you've got some great gems to share. Give me some background for those that might not be as familiar with who you are. I love to bring in the top 1%, and I consider you someone that I admire and respect in our profession, that's been in the trenches, that's still in the trenches, and you're pulling from real world wisdom.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Been a chiropractor for 30 years. I love this profession. I am passionate about chiropractic. And, I've got my businesses that you mentioned, the clinics and the personal training company. And then we've got the research institute. And then we've got a technology company called Embody, where we help chiropractors and other healthcare providers improve patient outcomes and drive practice income through technology, through remote therapeutic monitoring. So that's kind of my high level background. I also do a lot of volunteer and advocacy work in chiropractic, on the leadership team for the Chiropractic Future Strategic Plan. So if you're not familiar with that, please get familiar with that, people. Like, there is a strategic plan for our profession, built for you, the profession. So it's chiropracticfuture.org. I am so excited, bro, to be back at your event. I've been to Social Media Revenue Summit, and it is one of the best events, if not the best event of the year. I just love it. It's not just the incredible content that you guys deliver with great speakers, but it's also the people in the room. You curate this incredible group of just amazing chiropractors and entrepreneurs that just makes this event special. So I'm so excited to be there and really talk all things AI.
Nice. Yeah. And this is a very hot conversation. And it's so funny how fast technology is evolving. And historically, if you look at the chiropractic profession and many other small businesses in general, you've got that bell curve of tech adoption, typically the innovator phase, the early adopters, early majority, late majority, and the laggards. I've always considered you on that innovator phase, but unfortunately, a lot of our profession is usually typically around that, like the top point or late majority when things kind of come. It's nice to see some docs that are integrating this technology, but I know it can be really overwhelming. So, what would you say if a doc knows like this isn't a fad? I have to get something integrated like immediately. Like, where would I start? What's a good place to begin?
The easiest place, honestly, is ChatGPT, and most people know about it, but not a lot of people are using it. I just spoke at FCA not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, and I asked the room, like, how many people in the room are using ChatGPT? And literally, Matt, it was like a third, to your point about like late adoption.
Mhm.
And I'm using it every day, all day. And there are so many use cases, which we'll talk about at the Revenue Summit, but it's a great place just to go in and start playing. And the easiest thing to do with ChatGPT is just ask it to create content for you. Just even as simple as create an email series that will drive internal referrals for my practice. Just like something that simple. I actually created my own prompt assistant because everything is all about the prompts. Again, we'll talk about this in a few weeks in Vegas at your event. But I created a prompt assistant, and we can probably give it to the listeners so they can at least start practicing. But if you build a great prompt and you follow my prompt assistant, like if you just do the things that it tells you to do, and just ask it to do a task like build an email campaign or build a newsletter campaign around anything that you want, you'll start to see the results and how fast you can actually create content with this tool. Now, as you know, there are tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of tools and new tools coming out literally every single day. But again, to your point, to the audience, don't get overwhelmed. If you've never used AI before or you feel like you're a beginner, it's all about play, learn, and iterate. So just go in there and play like you're playing with Lincoln Logs, have some fun with it. Don't get stressed out. It's not a monster that's going to eat you. Learn from it and then make changes based on what you're learning. And I promise you, it will be a life-changing event once you start using this on a regular basis.
100%. And, I always like to say start simple. And, to your point, there's an old saying in the personal development niche. I don't remember who said this, but the quality of your life is determined by the quality of questions that you ask. At the same point, the quality of your you could say the results that you would get from like ChatGPT is dependent on the quality of prompts that you ask, and you can really dig down deep and get very, very clear specifics on some of these. And I know you're going to talk a lot about that at
Yeah.
our training, but to your point, where do you see doctors and business owners, like where are they making a couple mistakes potentially as they get into this new tech? They're all excited and they know this is possible. Like, what have you found in your experience where it's probably not the best practice or it's a pitfall?
Well, I think probably the biggest challenge or the biggest mistake that practices are making or business owners are making is that they may try it once and then stop because they didn't get exactly what they expected. But to what we've talked about already, it's all about the prompts. So if you have a weak prompt, you're going to get a weaker result, and you may not get exactly what you need. So I would just encourage people just to keep trying. Like, don't just give up after trying it one or two or a few times. The second mistake that I'm seeing in the industry is that they're not engaging their team. My team is consistently using AI. We are an AI-driven set of companies. So if the business owner alone is the only one using these tools, you're not actually creating leverage. And we need to create leverage through others, but also exponentially through these tools. And then lastly, I would say probably the third biggest mistake for more advanced people who are using like ChatGPT, but maybe not using it as well as it could be, or using other tools, is that expand your mind. We are only at the limits of our own creativity. There are more tools that you can use. There are way more business use cases than most people are thinking about to use even just ChatGPT. And I think, that is probably the third biggest area. One last thing I will say about using ChatGPT specifically is, and this may be a mistake, people are using the free version and they're missing out on all these other GPTs that are part of a $20 a month payment. Like, pay the freaking $20 and get access to like so many more GPTs. I think there's probably 100 plus GPTs that you have access to. Scholar GPTs for research, Canva. Everybody knows about Canva. DALL-E for graphic design. Like, there's so many other tools that people can use. So pay the $20, use the ChatGPT 4.0 and open your mind.
And correct me, like for the doc or the professional that has a very limited terminology here, we're talking about just very simple integrations, right? That are like, you don't have to be a tech whiz to use this. You just have to have the idea and the great prompt to where like either Canva or some of these other integrations, plugins, whatever you want to call them, can kind of do their magic with ChatGPT and give you X result
Yeah.
or
Yeah, it's 100%. And just the audience needs to think about, if they don't have experience with this, is like going to a website and asking a question, or going to a website and making a request for the AI to do something. You're just using this web interface and the AI on the back end is doing all the work. So it's not magic. It's really just data aggregation and pattern recognition at light speed. And again, when you give it the right prompts and you're using the right tools for the right business use cases, it will exponentially change your business. And Matt, I will tell you this, like, we've leveraged technology so much to this point that we no longer have front desk CAs. We don't need them.
wow.
We don't need them. We don't have the expense. We don't have the hassle. We don't have any of that nonsense of the front desk CA who's like scrolling through Instagram feed, when you walk in the morning. Like, we don't have that. And so technology is truly an exponential game changer as long as providers, business owners, and teams are willing to learn, play, learn, and iterate.
Yeah, that's well put. In terms of time commitments, because this is, of course, one of the questions that you'll get, and there's always a learning curve with anything. However, at least in my experience, your chat GPTs and other bots, I mean, it's not, I didn't find it a massive learning curve. And yes, I'm immersed in this space, but what would you say in terms of time commitments and whatnot to the average doc that's going to learn this and say, okay, well, now let me bring my team in to delegate and teach them how to prompt and all this stuff?
How much time do we have? How much time do I have at the event?
No, no, how much like a time commitment in terms
No,
of
oh no, I'm asking you. I know. How much time
oh,
is my presentation? How long is it?
we got 50 minutes, I believe.
50 minutes, you cut my time? You
I think
bastard. I thought I had 90. Anyway,
we'll have to see. Maybe we'll get 90.
okay. Um, so I say that. See, y'all, we're gonna have a good time in Las Vegas.
Okay.
So you got to make it. Listen, if the average doctor sits down for an hour, they're going to be able to. It's the 80/20 rule. Like they're going to be able to kind of master 80% of what they need to know. Just an hour. Especially if they come to the event and there's guidance there, they learn the prompting techniques, they learn the tools, they learn the business use cases. Like it'll even be less. But an hour of time, just if you want to sit down and start playing with ChatGPT, it's an hour.
Got it, got it. And like I said at the event, you're going to talk about how you've integrated it personally with the retention angle, new patient attraction, hiring, team building, and the revenue creation. Like ultimately, half of our event is, of course, about the practice growth side of things, and the other half is really about creating automated income streams, whether that is through the practice or whether that's through additional um, uh, like sources online, offline that myself and many others have experience doing. So this is going to really open your eyes to just a whole different world. And again, AI, the world is changing real quick. And I can't give a timeline because who knows what tomorrow holds. But this is one thing that we as professionals should not sleep on because maybe the statistics better than I do in terms of how the job markets are being disrupted. Jay, do you have any stats on like in terms of jobs like this year aren't going to be around in 3 years, or there's like you talking about my CA is done, my front desk is done, but we know that's happening, but how quick? And personally, just a side note, this. I think I probably heard this from a gentleman in the internet marketing space. His name is Justin Brook a few years ago, actually. And he speculated, which is not really speculation, but he's like, I can see a time where just AI or Google's AI or Facebook's AI completely wipe out the middlemen because they've got all the data anyway. And you can
Right.
say, hey, I'm a chiropractor here in, Lilburn, Georgia. This is what I do. And they're going to be, bam, here are your ads that go out based on conversion. I mean, we're like, this is going to
We're
disrupt
close.
so many. What's that?
Yeah. We're close to that. Yeah.
Yeah, this is going to disrupt so many things, but like, what would you say to, time frame wise? I mean,
Yeah, there's been all kinds of numbers thrown around and job losses and all those kinds
yeah,
of
yeah.
things. And nobody really knows it's speculation. But I just want to emphasize something that you said, which is it is changing rapidly and it's changing rapidly every day and changing faster than ever before. And what we know, at least based on the limited experience that we have so far with the Gen AI tools that are out there, is that those that actually adopt these tools are going to be the ones that have jobs. Those that don't adopt these tools are going to be the ones that are out of jobs. So it's a matter of, using these tools to augment your role in whatever role you're in so that you're the expert so that you can use these tools to grow impact. And that's really the key.
And at the same time, with how fast tech is evolving, I always believe in having. I mean, this is just a rule of thumb. The earlier you get into anything, I mean, imagine I was fortunate. MySpace days, I didn't know what I had. No one knew what social media was going to be back then.
Yeah.
Obviously, Facebook advertising launched, and I think it was 2010. I was there. And so I can tell you from experience to where you're going to make the most impact, the most amount of money when you get in on the early, like the innovator phase, really, and the early adopter phases. So again, I can see where at least the average doctor or professional, I can't give you a timeline, but I know that as more offices integrate this technology, you can't compete in today's world with the volume and the scale that this thing can bring. So hopefully you sense an urgency in our voices here because this is not what Loop says, it's not what Jay says. It's just how the world's evolving, and you need to be positioned heavily on the upside. That's why we're hosting this training. March 29th, Las Vegas. Go to profit365.org/Vegas, and you can grab one of, I think, the last 10 tickets that we have for the training at the Bellagio. It's going to be an amazing five-star event, rolling out the red carpet. So, again, I can't think of anything else to say here, but it is, time is of the urgency. Any final thoughts for our listeners, Jay?
No, I think you said it well, brother. Like, just you got to adapt and adopt. That is the key.
Mhm.
And I'm looking forward to being with you in Vegas and getting that extra time that you're going to give me so that we can share all this good stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna have to give
Share
you
all
extra
this good
time. Yeah.
stuff. But no, man, it's going to be a great event. And I love teaching chiropractic stuff because you see the light bulb go on when you're in the room and you see how people adopt and it changes their life forever. So very excited about it, bro.
Fantastic. Hey, we will see you all in Las Vegas on March 29th. If you have any questions, throw them down below or respond to the email, however you're interacting with this. And we shall chat soon. Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for joining me today.
Peace, brother.